Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 407th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, November 18th, 2021. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be a host today for Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who once again will be presenting today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready to begin there?
Yes. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers programs of the Keshe Foundation worldwide, we welcome you back to another cycle of knowledge, sharing knowledge and becoming knowledge seekers, irrespective of our culture, religion, faith, and every other things that we might be separated ourselves to be separate from the others. The beauty of it is that when we go to space, we all become man of earth. They do not know China or England or America or Iran. We go out together in understanding and more or less cultivating a new ways of what we call knowledge. The beauty of it is we have to learn as a human race that we are as strange to them as they are strange to us. We have our own ways of doing things. We have our own ways of getting to places, and they have their own. Does not mean that they're more advanced, does not mean they are behind us. It means we are all part of the evolution of the knowledge of the creation. This is part of what we all are in different stages of that knowledge. Some who are being created long before us through taking a different path have passed us to understand the knowledge of the creation. Some who've been ahead of us are still behind us because they have not managed to unravel the realities of the creation. And there are different races of the creator in different dimensions and understanding and knowledge and enlightenment. So we have to learn. One of the first things is how do we come to be and what we have to do in the openness of the universe to respect life in the essence of the creation, in the essence of understanding the totality. There is always a way that we think we do not know, and there is always a way that we think we know. But we think because we have that knowledge, we are inferior or superior to the others around us. This has to be understood by all of us, that once we are entering the universal community with the open eyes of knowing that we are in a new society of the universe, we're no different. We are all in the same package of the process of the creation. And for us, how we communicate, how we go to understand, how we interact will come out of understanding of the totality. Many creations and created things of the creator have not even understood the existence of their souls, have not understood what it means to be part of what the teachings you have had. And at the same time, they've been taught that to be elevated to that position. Does it make you any different? Does it make you to be more enlightened and more arrogant? Or does it make you to be enlightened and be humble? In so many ways, we have to become to understand whatever we are, wherever we appear, whatever we are part of, we're always part of the creation. And we have always to be humble, to be there to learn, and not to be arrogant, to be ahead, to be we know. In the process of the creation, mankind has moved a lot. In the process of creation, mankind has changed a lot. In the process of creation, all creatures of the universe have changed a lot. One of the knowledge seekers, in a different way, sent me a video this week, which is to do with Solomon. And this brought back a lot of memories. This brought back a lot of things that many of you knowledge seekers gradually will come to. And then you understand when we say the knowledge of the man has come to the level of the prophet of the past. That now that you know the existence of your soul, now that you understand the existence of totality, you understand we understood how Christ brought life back. But when you go back to beyond it, to time of Solomon, he used to talk to birds. He used to understand the animals. He used to understand every creature. And now he can see how much man has degraded from time of Solomon to Christ. It's the knowledge we had, it's the knowledge we were created with. He used his soul to communicate with the birds and the bees, to the animals, to understand them. And as he was what we call messengers of the Creator, in a way he understood the levels of creation. He went out not to harm and not to possess, even though people gathered around him as armies of his. He never called for an army. He had an army of peace with him. But he understood through the soul. And in a way, our teaching is taking us back now further to understand the work of Solomon. How he could communicate with the birds, how he communicated with every entity. And up to now, we always talked about it. In a way, it's the knowledge is within us, the knowledge which has always been available to us, but became more and more physical to the level of Christ. That for us was important to see a physical body moving, where thousands of years before him, Solomon could speak to the birds, could understand them through the soul. He never verbally communicated, but through the interaction of his soul, he could understand. He was already a man of universe. He was already the soul of the man. And this is what the teachings of nowadays is about. We understood how Christ resurrected. Now, to understanding more, we try to go further back before man was contaminated with the physicality and possession to the time of Solomon, to understand interaction, to understand communication through the soul of the man, not the dimension of physicality of the man. I'm sure if we would have left the mankind to carry on with what it is in the next few thousand years, mankind will not move. We hold on to everything and become more and more physical and possessive. This is part of our understanding. We are not bringing a new teaching. We are taking man to the origin when he diverted to become more physical, to be more owner of physicality, to be detached. It was part of the life of him. And now we see how we have degraded ourselves to lower and lower. We sit to understand more. How could he do what we, after thousands of years, trying to go back and reach? What was the message? That did he communicate? If he could communicate with the birds and bees and the animals, how did he communicate with his army? How could he, when he could understand the animals and the rest, could be ignorant of the existence and emotions and the life of his soldiers, the people who came to God, to be with him, to be part of his, what we call knowledge seekers of today, to understand more about the creation. What happened to all that knowledge? How much did Solomon pass on to make what are called creatures of the universe out of the man? And they could not understand it at the time. So, in a way, now that you become too close to understand the work of your soul in communication and interaction, then you come to understand you have moved up backwards in the race of man to the time of Solomon, to interaction, to understanding, to comprehending the emotion of another with not talking, but by the interaction of the souls. So We are not teaching you something new. And as all of you have been entangled with these teachings for past months and years with us, now you understand. In a way, we're taking man back through his own history, timeline reversed. It's not back to the future. It's to understand the time of the past, that it has become the future. The universe hasn't stopped as man has become more physical. The work of the Creator hasn't stopped as the man has taken the greed to possess and own more. And as we see nowadays with our leaders, they want to possess everything. And then you see those who are behind our leaders who want to be the possessor and controlling even the leaders. Why? What is the reason? Why do we see this evolution now in the process of the creation? What do the Rothschilds bend backwards in trying to control humanity? By finance, by every means, but they have not understood that the work of the Creator goes beyond them. The knowledge they might gain somewhere or got somewhere to show they can, they will not be able to, because the path of it is the wrong way. They chose what the gift was given to them to be used in the wrong way. The greed of the physicality took over the knowledge of physicality of the man's achievement. This is the part of the job that many of you will start questioning yourselves. In the time to come and in the time which is here, many of you have faced or facing with a position of, shall I take or shall I not take? And what would it do to me and what I have to do? In a way, when you accept these new, what I call cycle of control, you are faced with one thing. You ever been on a death row by injection? That's the position of man. In a way, the new cycle is putting you on the table with yourself. Do I accept the injection and take the consequences of death, sitting on what I call a death row? This is what you have to understand, how fast you can move from the dimension of physicality and dimension of the soul, that no physical injection can harm the man. How fast you can see and read the understanding of the thoughts of the others, that you can be safe in respect to your own life. Many knowledge seekers asked me in the past few months, what shall we do? In a way, I cannot tell you what to do as you're sitting on a death row. This is the total reality of it. It all depends when the saturation gets to the point, when your body cannot respond. And then, in that point, like many of you who've been through the motion and emotion of the cancer, you judge your life. What have I achieved? What have I done? What is my, what I call legacy? Nowadays, and what we see is about to come, enforcing these, what I call body structure changes, will make you think. But we have to understand what is behind it. This is why we said we took the love of God from Rothschild. Every one of them will die in the most painful way the man can do. They'll become a name in the history in a very short time, as they took the wrong path, as they went the wrong way. This was not supposed to be the knowledge, and whatever was given was supposed to be for the benefit of mankind. Don't forget, when we took the love of God from the tribe of Moses, because of what they did to Christ, they became nomads. They lost their home, and they spread around the world, and everywhere they became the curse of humanity. Maybe now you understand what it's about, what is to come. In a way, with this position in the time of man, we make you think. We make you to understand, do I want to be, and what will be of me? Do I want to move in the dimension of the soul, or do I stay in the dimension of physicality? How many of you will elevate to that position the coming time? How many of you will come to understand the strength of your soul you'll come to see? We create with the love of man. We create with the creation of the love of man. And in so many ways, the love of man has become part of its own demise for loving so much with tangibility and physicality of the man. Maybe today I open a door for you to see what is to come. Not for humanity, but for yourself. How you assess the life to be. How you assess, I want to be. I take the job, but would I sit and wait? Nothing happens, or it'll be my demise. As I said to one of the politicians and diplomats very recently, we are all on the execution table of injection, the way it used to be done on the death row in America. With the difference that the leaders have exempt themselves from to be part of it. All the rules and regulations you see done for you to safeguard you is not applicable to the world leaders. We have come to understand in past few days that the governors and the governments and the leaders are exempt from injection. Why? This is part of the structure of life. And if it is so, how could they survive without it, where the others have to have it? This brings you to understanding in a deeper way that we will face the same dilemma in the depth of a space. We will have this on our table in a coming time. We will have to make these decisions in the depth of space. Shall I go out? And the packages of the energies are above my strength of my soul, or the strength of my physicality, or the strength of my soul of physicality. How would I handle it? How do I deal with it? Am I taking that a step? In understanding this, it makes you conscious to understand your soul. The way I look at it is that the position that more or less all of us on this planet are facing today is the time to bring collectively humanity to a new level of understanding. To bring man collectively to decide and to assess what is the future of our race. What is and how we're going to do. To what extent? What will be the outcome of all this mayhem we see? Or are we going through a cycle that we are embedded with the dimension of the knowledge that they will decide when to switch on and how to switch off? We have one way to think, and that way is for all of us as a human race to start to understand the dimension of the soul the interaction of the soul, how we achieve that level, and how to interact and trigger the phase of understanding of the motion of the souls of the man. Don't forget, in the teachings of the past, we have talked about this very clearly, where you take the soul of physicality within the soul of the man, and when the danger is over, you can release it back to become part of the new situation and the place. What happens if you're about to fall off a cliff, and then you change your dimension of the soul, and that light then will land on the same cliff? Then what happened? You reverse the time, and would you be any different than the body which was free falling off the cliff? In a way, when you jumped, you had brown eyes and black hair, and when you come back, would you still be the same, or would it be the wishes that you wanted always to have blue eyes and be blonde? Which one will take over? Which dimension will appear in front of you? Would your loved ones which fall watch you to go down, seeing you going down as a black hair and blue but brown eyes, appear with a blonde hair and blue eyes, but you still speak the memories of what you had? Would they recognize you? Would they accept you? And then it'll come to the point to understand mankind is at the verge of understanding the totality of the creation. Mankind is at the verge to understand about his own creation. And this is part of the teaching. This is part of trying to understand part of it. Go back and listen to the American teaching of last week with Alex. Unknowingly, he has touched very soft, but to something fundamental, which we've been trying to teach you, but you do not hear. Go back and understand what you have missed in past teachings that you have not managed up to now to achieve to interact with your soul. Go back to the teachings of the past 2 years and understand more in what you have missed to understand the totality of the knowledge. Sentimentality does not pay nowadays. You have to be realistic. You have to understand in totality, if I can do, if I can convert, if I can go within my soul to become the dimension, can I teach it to my child? Can I teach it to my lover? Can I teach it to my father and brother? But the brother is the totality of human race. In a way, we are going back. We are teaching you to go back to the time of Solomon. Don't talk, listen and understand. It's not your job to change the others. You're there available if they need to take that change. As I said, execution by lethal injection has been the tradition which we have seen in the United States and even in some of the states today, I believe is still carried out. Have we all become the criminals? Or our crime has been that we have not understood the essence of the creation of our soul, and this is the payback time. Where we had to mature and we missed it, where we had to understand that no injection can touch us, where we can convert from the soul of physicality into the soul of the man and appear again. Then, whatever rumors is this does this and does that, and it kills this way and that kills that way, that's how the guy dies on the injection table by the execution in a prison. We don't need to analyze it, because even the man there, if he understands and elevates his soul, the injection of the poisons given to him to execute him by enlightening his soul would have no effect on him, because he is enlightened, because he has understood the ways of his misconduct, and he'll walk off that table as a new man. Would this be the response of the humanity after the mayhem we are going through? Would it be the time that man will elevate himself to understand? Would it be that we needed this to create a new cycle of people who understand the totality of the creation? When you're on that bed, everything goes through the head, even the soul of the man. The reality with many of you in the physical dimension is that the life has become more physical and more physical. As you see on the screen, we are developing more and more technologies for you to see that blue light, to see that light of life through the what I call these systems, to enlighten your soul, to bring you a new dimension, to understand the reality about the creation, where the physicality will have no meaning unless you give it the meaning. The touch of love, the touch of loving a child or a partner, the touch of understanding the smell and the beauty of a flower or an animal. The new systems are there to bring that emotion, that understanding, that what I call the end, the light, the way we most of us see ourselves at the position of death. Do we need to die? Do we need to be afraid of what this and that does to us? Or do we go through a new process of creation? I have taught you many systems. Now I talk to enlighten for you to find a system in your own structure of creation, a connection, maybe what we call interface or adapter between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, that you become not afraid of any packages of energy or anything that might enter your body at a time. So many ways, we are mixing too many things without separating too many things. We are creating too many conditions without actually understanding the condition which we have created for ourselves. We're becoming more physical than what we are asking for, literally, is to go back to the time of Solomon. To go back before him and go back to the time of Mitra and Zoroaster. Go back to the time of the Creator and understanding of the totality. The word, I made man in the image of myself, is not only in the dimension of the light, but is in the dimension of enlightenment too. It's us who has to find that in the dimension of physicality and in the dimension of understanding the light. We are not part of something which has no meaning, and we are not there just to be there. We are part of the process. We are the hinges of connecting one part to the other. At the same time, we are one and the other. As we interact, we interconnect, and we become part of the structure. Maybe in the coming time, maybe in understanding the totality with the introduction of the new knowledge, new ways, new tools we can show you to become better drivers of your soul. Better interactor between the soul of physicality and the soul of the man. They asked the Creator a question: are you perfect? He said, how can I be perfect when I cannot, when I see I create imperfection in my creatures and created? In so many paths taken to create always the perfection has become even a pain to the Creator. What can you do if you understand, even your Creator understand the limitation of dimensions of existence? Mankind soon will come to understand the answer to the question, are you perfect? And even one is perfect, one created what by him has to be perfect, to be continuous, to be the cycle of the creation in totality. We have never spoken in the voice and the language of the Creator, but soon you all hear that, as you have heard in the past times. It's for you to understand the totality. It's for you to understand the totality of the creation in the dimension of man's soul as itself, it's part of cycle of the regeneration and interaction of the fields of the universe. It's not that our soul will stay just because we died. Our soul has a lifespan, and in that lifespan has to decide where it wants to be part of and what it wants to be part of. Mankind has reached a point of decision making, and in a way, before it was them, now is all. With what we see and what is on and what is to come, how much more humanity will go the path of physicality. We took the love of God from Rothschilds because of their misconduct. We took the love of God from Jews, and out of them became a misconduct of Rothschilds. And for this, we abolish both at the same time. What this means, it means mankind has been put to a test, not to fail, but to more understand the cycle of the generation of the soul and the interaction of the soul of physicality by totality put together in one dimension. The purpose of the cycle and the pains you go through in this part of the life of this planet is to unify the soul of the man as one. As you all at the same time has come to suffer through the hand of the man. When it was an earthquake, it was somewhere there. When it was a hurricane, it was somewhere there. It had nothing to do with me. It was just a piece of news. Now the hurricane is hitting all of us. And this hurricane is not who's going to come out of it well and who does not. In fact, is for the man to unite collectively in that hurricane, to hold hand, to become one, to be able to stand till this hurricane is over. Mankind will not do it in the dimension of the physicality, but mankind can do it through the dimension of the interaction and what we call hold on to through the souls. This is what we call upon the knowledge seekers, to understand and to start acting upon it. We ask you to water every Sunday. And many of you watered on a Sunday, lunchtime and dinner time. Now we give you a new path. Maybe you will understand. Instead of watering the whole, as you all do and you shall do, now try to unite each other's soul. Try to make the soul of the humanity through the knowledge seekers to the level that no one can touch the physicality of the embodiment of the human race, even though they come in different names and shapes and colors and whatever. What I call upon the knowledge seekers is very simple. We are facing a demise, and collective connection and interaction of the soul of the man with other creatures which we love and carry at home or outside of whatever shape or form, be it a plant or whatever. Try to find a time. Try to find a place. Try to be on regular basis to unite in the dimension of the soul. That mankind elevates the soul of the totality, and we can weather this animosity and this, what I call, horrendous time, which is imposed by those who thought have the power of the finance and the power of to do so. Choose a time. Go back to the time where all of you are at the point of what I call collective calmness. And this time, don't spread the water of Ganges, spread your soul. Interact and unite, that in totality, we make a new race out of the soul of the man. This is part of the purposes of the Keshe Foundation teaching. Unification of the souls, that in space and beyond, we are interacted, we are all one, and we all manifest as one. This is the only way that all of you and many of you will survive this hurricane, which is now blowing across the winds and the planet and beyond. We are suffering with what we see is happening to mankind, but we understand the solidarity and unification of the soul of the man is the key. Then, once you unite, you will not harm each other as you was part of it to be harmed. And then we go back to the point of one planet, one nation, one race, in a way, one soul. This is the only way the human race will weather this situation, what we see at the moment on this planet. And this is the only way that we see the demise of those who finance such a painful cycle for so many. But we have to understand, when a nation works together, the leaders have no power, even though they thought they protected themselves beyond the castles and the walls and everything else. In so many ways, mankind has to come to the point of understanding the test of what is come now is not, in a way, individual, is to unite the human race. This is the opportunity for knowledge seekers to extend the position and the possession of the work of the soul to become one. Choose a time that all of you, the way you do on Sundays, is the time of uniting the soul of the man. And then you understand. Don't go there for a second till the water of the can is finished. Stay there that all the cans can stay full all the time. Never be of those who says, I give. Be there to be taken and allow and give the permit to be taken from you if there is a need. No one will shall die from no foreign body entry on what we call the table of execution by injection, as it is tradition in the States and the United States. This way, you enhance. This way, the soul of the mankind will become strong enough to protect the soul of the physicality of those who want to be there. No man, no physicality shall be demised. if the knowledge seekers understand the whole purpose of this work. Try to understand. Try to organize yourself to become, to be the soul. And then instead of the same time once a week, extend it to all time, the whole year round. Because many of you soon will travel into the depths of the universe, and you cannot wait till the Sunday 6 o'clock comes as I'm in trouble, and today is Sunday 9 o'clock. I have to wait a week in the depth of the space that the soul of the man might be there to help me. The planet Earth shall shine like a star, where the soul of its citizens will shine to all those who are created within the structure of the soul of physicality. You will see and you will understand soon. There is no time better than when mankind sits and he has no time to do with the religion and time and what we call different path. Be advised, Wednesday, 6 o'clock Central European time in the evening and the morning, where all the nations around the world will come together in the soul. But it has nothing to do with no religion, and it has nothing to do with a path of thinking. In so many paths, mankind has created to be separate and to be better. At 6 o'clock Wednesday, Central European time is the time when mankind is equal and the same. Unite your souls and you understand. Extend the souls. Do not sit there, I don't feel, because you're not in touch with it. You just make the physicality available for a time of change. You understand that the totality sits within the strength of the soul of the man. As one race, not man as one individual. Let them throw what they like at us, as we are much stronger than it feels like a pin thrown as a giant. The giant is the unification of the soul of the man together, to become one, to unite for the betterment of humanity. And while you are in that position, elevate the soul of the man in totality. Become those individual magrabs which they link to each other to change the totality. We called it a cluster magrab. If you remember to go back that far, put 1 or 2 or 3 that collectively you reduce and you contribute to the what are called the wealth of the house. Now those magrabs is your soul, and with it comes the control of it, which is the soul of physicality. Maybe after a few days, choose a Tuesday to do the same, and then the Monday, and then everything else which goes with it, and then extend it to all time, all the time. When I'm not, somebody else is there. It is not a clockwork. It's understanding that the clock never stops and never works without understanding the totality. We come to this point to be here, not just by accident. But as I said, when you don't do it, we force you. When we force you, you kick. But when you do it, you act it. We didn't create the condition of what is today, but we have the opportunity by the misconduct of the others for you to be understanding the totality, and in a way we make the best out of their mistakes. We've seen this behavior. I come from blood of Moses, through my mother. But I'm ashamed to carry that blood when I see the same thing happens again and again. We saw what Moses did with those who gave him food and water and grow him up. We saw what happened with the state of Israel. By giving land and everything, they became the same as their, what I call, bloodline. And we're seeing the same with Rothschild. When the wealth was given, instead of bringing peace and betterment of man, they chose to go the wrong way. And now they receive their term, the end. And this has been the same in the same blood, and that shall end. But with it, we don't suffer to say we've done wrong too, we've been done wrong too, and blah, blah. But we use it as an opportunity to bring mankind to understand, to unify the soul of the man, to create that one nation, one race. And with it, the soul of the man and the soul of the planet to be one. When one race is the same as one planet soul, then this planet will shine beyond the dimension and become the center of the universe and the position of the Creator. Then the whole of the universe shall see for the first time the presence of the Creator. Maybe it's too far for you to understand, but it's like a light and the sun for us as we know what is about to come. Soon you will understand. Is not being there just to abuse. It had to be there to help, to support. One of the turning points for me was when I saw the picture of Rothschild walking with Mao Zedong in a garden in the hills in China. Then I realized even what we see today as an emperor of what we call the power of China still sits in the hand of Rothschilds and how they have abused everything beyond. And we've taken the love of God from every soul of that bloodline. Soon you shall see. Instead of uniting, they create a condition that they can create wars, they create conflict, and then with it, try to create condition of power. They created war. The Universal Council became more powerful and they stopped wars. Now is the responsibility of the Universal Council the same, to stand, to bring all this mayhem to an end. Gradually, step by step, we are opening the responsibility of the souls of the members of the Universal Council. And it's within your power to bring the change. You've been given that power when you physically brought your soul, which was chosen to support the changes, was made available. The true members of the Universal Council have within their power to bring an end to this mayhem. But in a way, is the key to uniting the mankind, to bring the soul of the planet, which is the man's life, with the soul of its physicality, which is the planet itself. One race, one planet, one soul. This is the fundamental act for the manifestation of the Creator. Maybe many of you will understand soon why Earth has been chosen. The old Chinese proverb says, suffering makes a man think, thinking makes the man wise, and the wisdom makes the man rich. And the mankind is going through that process. Become wise and become rich to be the house and the home and the base of the Creator, where it manifests itself in both dimensions. This was the promise and shall be kept. We are not prophets. We are enlightened that knows the path of the Creator to his destination. We are those who carry the torch, that the path is full in understanding of the knowledge for the Creator to find, to be, and to find peace across the universe. We are torches of enlightenment, not messages. We are universal as we see the whole path for the Creator to understand for those who have created the position and the position of Him as to be part of the same. Maybe today you understand the purpose of the Keshe Foundation and the name and whatever you have come to, and you will come to, and those of you and those who understand will come to be. We still work in the dimension of physicality, but we have a dimension that today for the first time we are unraveled and revealed. Maybe today many of you will come to understand the purpose of our work. Do not listen to the word, but understand the intellect and the purpose behind it. And then you'll be enlightened. I end the teaching now, because if you understood what was said, you have understood what is to come. And what gift has been given to man through the power of Universal Council. And to understand the responsibility to be correct. And now you understand why those who are misconducted have left the council. And the core of those who are there to serve stays and will grow. It's your responsibility to elevate your soul and not wait for a handout. It's your responsibility to come to understand the work of the creation and the Creator. And then it is your responsibility to understand the whole structure will move from this planet to beyond for the whole of the universe. This is why we said the new generation of life will have the whole soul and the soul of physicality together, that they'll be learned by the rest of the, what I call, created things across the universe. The soul of the Creator and the soul of Mitra in the dimension of physicality will come together, and mankind will move into a new dimension as one nation, one planet, one race. As the nation of the man is the nation of the Creator. Soon you will understand. And with that, you elevate your souls to the point that nothing can touch you, as you are part of what I call understanding and enlightened to the facts and the realities of the creation. Thank you very much for today. And in so many ways, today's teaching is what I call watershed for separation of the man to a good man, and not just for a few, but for all. Thank you very much for being here, and I hope you will understand or understood. Rick, can we break into a break and we come back?
Okay, that sounds good, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. So we'll take a few minutes for a commercial break here and be back shortly. Thank you, everyone.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a space technology that allows you to work with the fields of the universe. Creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions, it allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the man can follow to find their balance, elevating the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, we're back again at the 407th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, November 18th, 2021. I believe Mr. Keshe will be ready for taking questions at this point. Is that correct?
Yes, as usual, ready, willing. I don't know if you're able to answer all questions. Carry on.
Okay, well, we can begin with a question. First of all, let's make sure the attendees can,
Ask
yes,
question.
they should be able to raise their hand. So I'll just remind them they can put up their virtual hands if they wish to ask a question. So in the Q&A from someone called From Zero to Hero, it says, Dear Mr. Keshe, thank you so much for sharing with us the knowledge. Could you please advise if we make a GANs of a poisonous element, how shall we use it to receive the antidote effect? How not to harm the body with such GANs? Is there some recommendations on using it? Shall we make 2 patches of it? Then it will move the fields through the body. Still, if these are fields of some toxic element, how can we be sure that it won't harm our body? Could you please advise if we make a GANs of a mushroom which attack the body, could such GANs help our body to become clean of the mushroom? Thank you very much.
There are different ways of approaching this, and the Keshe Foundation has looked at this many times. There is an essence of understanding what a poison is. And in a way, when you take a poison from a living thing like a snake, or you take a poison from what I call a parasite like a mushroom, it's 2 different ways. It's understanding how the energy is absorbed and what energy they absorb. It's not the antidote, it's the knowledge of the fields which they deliver. When we receive a bite from a snake which can kill, why does it travel through the body so fast? What does it affect? How can you stop? How can you reverse? How can you be there to bring a change? We have tested, and many times we have shown that it cannot be treated as you do with viruses because it has an element of amino acid. Your essential structure is to overcome the poison by a process of what we call attachment, but detachment from the amino acid. Many of you work with understanding of the connection with the poisons, with everything else. When you use a poison as what I call interaction with another poison, you never use a CO2. except in some special cases. You make sure there is no connection with amino acid, because you try to separate an amino acid connection with a body which is traveling fast. You try to disconnect from the connection. In these cases, you have to understand what a poison does. A poison in the body, which creates cramp or paralysis or whatever, it changes salt content of the body. You've seen it. When you change the salt, you get different structure of the ganses. You get different energy transfer. When you're facing with poisons in these levels, you use whatever you think is the basis of the poison and salt. But you make sure you do not use the amino acid except in the condition of understanding how the amino acid was created in the conjunction with the process of the creation of that tissue muscle. The poisons always come through by you changing the dilution. You use a high level of salt with whatever could be the component in the patches of like 50 to 1. That you move, you change the solution in the process. The paralysis comes when everything gets stuck together and there is no communication of the nervous system through the salinity, not through the CO2. Poisons are primarily a process where the solidification and interaction happens very fast. And you can use a combination of different salts, because poison is a composite material that it goes for everything. And you mix them, have them ready, and just how to use it. The salts you see is, those of you who made the ganses always appear on your wire if you leave the gans too long on the container. We use salt in these cases because then you can change the salinity. Salinity does not allow solidification, and you wash it out. It's like a cancer you wash out. But for the first time, you understand the use of the salts to stop that solidification. In cancer, we never use salt. When you use gases for cancer, you make sure you wash out. There should be no salt in it, because that salt will bring a more, what I call, solidification. Then you have to understand the process of what we call packing. In some poisons, you need to pack, to unpack. Most of the packing of the tissues with a cancer and that kind of thing, or the cramp, we see it is magnesium. You make sure you have a high ratio, maybe 20 to 1 in magnesium in the patches. And then this allows to punch out any solidification with a, what we call, with a salt and with a poison. Then you have to understand, if it's an energy poison like mushrooms, mushrooms are energy-packed poisons which come from the environment, and that's how they grow. Funguses are the same. They don't connect, but when you see the roots in them, it's just gathering energy, and that is extension. But especially with what we call funguses, they are the same as the viruses, but they have an amino acid connection to the what we call the environment, not to a body. That's why they can grow anywhere. So you never use salt or magnesium in the cancer cases, unless in a specific ways for specific cancers. And these are, again, debatable. In the future, we open more of it. But essentially, for poison, you need GAN salts, not salts from the table or whatever else. And even with our research labs, we send them kilos, half a kilos of different GAN salts we hold. We always try to hold GAN salts because it is part of what we call stepping a stone for declocking. If you go back to if you remember the pictures of the breast cancer which opened up, this should not happen. Originally, when we did, it happened. But now we understand we can get rid of the cancer. We can get rid of the tumor itself in the middle, but the housing can stay. And this can only be done when you keep the salinity very tightly controlled in the field interactions. You will not die of the cancer because there is no center for it. But with controlling the salinity, you can keep the case. There's nothing in it. We saw this originally about 12, 15 years ago, but totally did not understand the process. Now we understand the process. And so if you have a poison, you have to understand, you have to stop two things. One is the salinity doesn't change rapidly. Secondly is the solidification doesn't happen rapidly. Then you can walk away from any poison. What materials you use, because it touches the neural system, zinc has to be part of it. Then you have to understand what is the diet of the animal which bites you. What kind of animal it eats, and it can only convert what has as a base to a poison to kill. And then you understand how to make what we call antipoisons. And you need to have things ready. You cannot just jump and do. In the future, I'm sure the Keshe Foundation will deliver different kind of antipoisons through the gas technology. As I said, we are building up the universities, and these are part of the research which will come up very soon. Any other question?
Yes, we have a hand up here from Claudia. Claudia, would you like to go ahead, please?
Hello. Hello, Sir Keshe. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I have a doubt because I was studying your class about the phase in school, and you said that the brain's emotion is in the thalamus. But my question is, the soul of the man is in the middle of the thalamus or have another location? Thank you.
Another location.
Sorry about it.
Yeah. It clearly has the position in the brain. You see it in MRI. Doctors never understood, and they just left it as it is. But it's the center. But because it carries such a huge amount of energy, it manifests itself as a dark spot. It's actually the black hole of the brain.
And where is the whole of the brain?
It sits at the center in the back, just about where your neural system starts and the origin of the top of the brain. Top of what you call the crown of the brain. I can go to it very easily because I see it in many of my eyes randomly. We see it depends how the cut was done, when the scan was done, and you can see in many cases very clearly It's very circular, pin shape, and it doesn't have deviation. It's completely circular.
And don't have liquor inside.
Nothing
It's a hole.
inside, just pure. It's not a hole. It's a black hole. You see it as black, but inside is the same as a star. It's full of fields and energies. You see, this is what I was explaining to one of the knowledge seekers very, very, very recently. Why do you see a light when you think you're dying? And many people, when they come back to the dimension of physicality, they tell us they've seen the light and it was so peaceful. We have never understood this principle, how we see, and all of us talk about it. Where does the dimension come from? How do we see this white light? If this is your soul, and if this is the collective interaction of the soul of physicality, which is coming through what we call the blood of the man, when you go through the process of death, this closes in. And this is a dynamic, it doesn't stop. This is the emotion of attachment. You already passed it, so you feel detached. This is the emotion of the fear. You're still going in. This is the emotion of loss. You passed it. This is there. The emotion of love is here. So when you're traveling in a two dynamic and you're looking at it with the eye of the soul, what do you see when the earth and the sun interact? Nothing but light. And you say it's peaceful. You say it's calming. There was nothing. Because the soul of physicality nears and passes all this, these don't exist anymore. And then you find out in so many ways the position of. And this is why you see the light. These two create a stronger and a stronger and a stronger light. Here was very faint because detachment came, the other one came, you passed all of it. And now you see the light. And then what happens? Somebody knocks you on the head, wake up. You're not going. You do exactly the reverse. You go backwards and you feel all of it. And then what is left is the emotion of the love and peacefulness which you experienced in this region. And when people say, oh, it's so lovely, there was nothing, because now you understand this is your skull and this is the layers of brain. Here could be the pains, here could be the joy, but now you're enclosing the circle, you pass it out, they don't exist, they are beyond. And those of you who go through this transition of detachment, you come to this point. And then you find a way to go both ways. If all enters all, you're called at a point of death. Dimension of physicality does not come. But if you control it to come to this point, it comes a point of transmutation. Part of the enhancement unit is to do this. And amazingly, very recently, I watched it happen very, very fast, within seconds. One of our knowledge seekers knows what I'm talking about, where we cross the circle of emotion very rapidly through the enhancement units. Instantaneously, we touch the heart and the soul, till they tune up. This is a process that mankind will come to learn and to teach to himself. Any other question?
Thank you, Sir Keshe.
Thank you very much. We are going to finish around about 11:30. We are traveling today. Any other question?
Just having a look here. Don't have a question in the live stream. We have a question in YouTube.
I think we shocked too many people. There is no question.
Yeah, the hands aren't up here. Okay, a couple of questions in YouTube. One from Harnu. Can you ask Mr. Keshe if there are dwellings on the moon to accommodate visitors? And how will space travel affect people on the Earth?
We hear about a lot of the moon. The Americans have seen them, or the Chinese are hiding there. They work on the black side, the dark side, that nobody can see them. Soon you'll find out when we go to the moon. Bring your cameras.
What is the belief of the Iranian people about the moon and others in the Middle East? What are the beliefs or superstitions or religious beliefs about not going to the moon and that kind of thing? Why is it seem to be banned or not allowed?
This is a very controversial point. And the problem is not with the scientific-minded people, is mainly through the teaching of the religious leaders to those who are what I call not well educated in understanding the work of the universe or whatever. They have a set mind in the Islamic world. The moon is holy. And especially when you go to the Shia sect, because it's believed that Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet, has cut it with his sword in two halves. That's why we don't see the other half, and they call it Shab al-Ghama. And we see the moon as the sign of Islamic religion because of what it stands for in understanding. All the Islamic nations carry a moon, a crest of moon. And as is considered holy, at the moment is a very big stumbling block or point for the especially radical Islamic nations, because going to the moon is seen as an insult to the religion. I've seen this firsthand, and I've heard and been part of it to feel it firsthand. And now we see with the United Arab Emirates entering into the space game, and Saudis are entering into this game. The question has risen, the Muslim will go everywhere except the moon. And this is what we're trying to change, to bring to understand. And in fact, it'll be part of, you will see what we hear in the background. You'll find man on a mission to Mars from the Islamic nations, but not on missions to Moon. And it's something we cannot change. It's been ingrained in the teachings. We got your picture, Rick, on the live stream. And we cannot change this. And it will stay that way. will stay till the religious leaders bring in new ways of bringing the people to accept it, bringing people to be part of it and to understand, as we try to explain there about Solomon and Christ and resurrection, people understand that was philosophically and not physically. And then respect in, as I said to religious Islamic leaders, you ban the wearing of the face or drawing the face of His Blessed Muhammad, but you allow people to be attached to the moon and to a way not to worship it, but we have replaced an object with temples which Muhammad tried to get rid of. And with his face not to be drawn, that it becomes like body of a Christ we see on the neck of everything possible around the world nowadays. And it is a hard work to what we call the Muslims, especially certain sects, to accept the travel of the man to the moon. You can go anywhere, but not the moon. But that stays in that level until the religious leaders explain. And themselves are uneducated, most of them, so how do you expect others to do? We have a struggle there, but in general, as I said, you don't go to certain places. We have no flights from, let's say, Saudi to the moon. But from America, if you're a Muslim, you can go if you want. So we'll see these things gradually dying off and disappear as people become what we call neutral to the fact and understanding. It's very strange how we see the change of culture in the Islamic world, especially those who come as refugees. Everything has to be halal. Or in their country, they don't ask if it's halal or not. But as they travel, they walk for days and weeks, and they have to eat anything to survive. We see a lot of Muslims from refugee status countries who had to go through this. They don't care if it's pork, pig, or lamb, or cow. If it's slaughtered the Islamic way, the Jewish way, or the European way, because the hunger and to stay alive has overtaken the what we call dogmas of the religion. We see this a lot amongst the refugees, because you cannot afford anything. It's what's on the table has to be eaten. Maybe after they settle down, they try to go back to it, but most of them, as they have tasted everything, they say it doesn't matter what it is. We don't see many religious people for those who become refugees, because they lose on the way to survive. And maybe the moon story will be another part of the same thing in the coming time. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I have a question from Cristiano here in the chat. He says, from Brazil. The question is from Alexandra through Cristiano in the chat. It says, Mr. Keshe, I confess that specifically some of your phrases touch my soul and my deepest emotions. Two questions. One, will Mithra manifest itself again on Earth? And
yes.
The second,
without a doubt. That's a promise. And it's kept. Without a shadow of a doubt. Much sooner than you can ever imagine. Second question.
I know you've talked about that in several other workshops recently as well. Second question is, when will we have a university in Brazil?
University is planned. We have started discussion with the Iranian government officials. University in Austria we are looking for a site, and we have a site. In Beijing, we have asked the Keshe Foundation, and we have spoken to National Security Officer responsible for Keshe Foundation, CBC, in the past 48 hours to facilitate the establishment of the university in Beijing. We have spoken with our people in Arizona, and Arizona is the next place for education as an institute. Our target is the nation of Nigeria, and we are hoping that Alex will head it. And Brazil is a place, a time, a position that we consider. We had the option of 5 universities initially. Each university or institute to set up cost the Keshe Foundation and the structure of its work 500 million euro to run for 5 years. When you look at 5 cities, universities, well, you're talking around about 2.5 billion. And the program for Austria is 100% set. Iran is set to go. We have to finish documentations and the rest of it. Beijing is the same. And Arizona, I have given that promise to John, 100% is one of the first ones to open up. But our limitations are very, very tight, as we cannot open, we won't open university as a lecture teaching. Keshe Foundation Institute research centers become the norm. In a way, you come up with an idea. If a panel which is put up can accept the idea, you set up your own research team. It's your job to complete. You're given a budget and certain time. And when you finish, you move out. In our institutes, we don't give you certificate, as you know, many of you. But you move out, you keep a space for the next research to come in. And Austria has been said to accept 300 researchers in the first year. The third year, we estimate 500, and by the 5th year, we have envisaged in our accounting book to 1,000 researchers. And estimated cost is around about 50 to 100 million euro per year. We are not on the wedge. Austria is 100% been put in. We're just one of the reasons I'm traveling today is to see another site for the second part of the university. And Iran is in the hand of our team in Tehran. We've spoken to the officials. They know Keshe Foundation directly will invest 500 million euro in Tehran, in Iran, for the Middle East and not just the Iranian side. And our Chinese team can tell you we have already spoken to the Chinese officials for the start of the setting of the university. The institute is research, not teaching you how to make gases and whatever, unless something comes up, and our structure is set that way. Any other questions?
Yes, I see Azar has a hand up here. Could you go ahead?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I have a question. When you talk about Solomon, actually the other day I was thinking about there are so many races in the past of human history. Like one of them, there were many of them. One of them was Chauvin before Incas, and they had temples. And until like 30, 40 years ago, you could go even to the temple, and it wasn't taken by the government to become as a you go as a visitor. And some of the artifacts you could actually go digging, and some people went in and took them, and some people even have them, and they use them in the ceremonial table. But the question is, these people in the temple, people from all around the land, from everywhere, they used to come into the temple, and they had ceremonial. It was like connected to the soul. Actually, they became one, and this was very magnificent being. And then, if you go to some of the artifacts in the National Museum of Archaeology in Lima, there's a statue of the head which is have like a protrusion above the head. Actually, if you get a guide, they really don't know the real meaning behind it. They think it's a hairdo, which is not a hairdo. It was a consciousness. It's a symbol of consciousness. And actually, they have a stone. It's called Stella Ramondi. There's a lot of outline and then graph on the stone. And if you go early in the morning to the museum and it's not crowded, stand a meter away from it, you can feel the huge amount of energy comes through it. And actually, the guy who found it was an Italian guy. His name was Stella Ramondi. But these people, they used to do these things together. I mean, it actually covered a huge part of the Andes land. But then all these people disappeared in one go. Suddenly they just wiped out from the face of the earth. And this is not the first time this happened. It happened in places in Colombia, in other places. But who are these people and why they disappear suddenly when they were so consciously, so above us? I mean, we are more physical than them, and they were way in the past. Why that happened? I mean, what is the reason?
Do you want me to be very direct? Well, I'm fine, I'm gonna ask them. But indirectly is some of the things that you say people disappeared. Now we understand how Incas had to move, and now they didn't disappear because of the what we call geology and geometry of the place and the position and the weather. They had to move and gradually abandon, and the cities left behind. We see this normally. But when it comes to the South America, we glorify it. We have many abandoned cities over the centuries where water has gone and there is no reason to stay. Without the water, you cannot stay. We see that even in some cities in Asia. But when it comes to the South America, we glorify they disappeared. Now, many of now with the science we have and the geology test done, we see the rods. We see lack of water.
Mr. Keshe, like for example, in Colombia, the sign of infinity loop and the plasma sign is all over the place.
Yes, but the knowledge doesn't mean that when you have the knowledge, you've done whatever. And some of it is there is a knowledge we want to keep away from mankind for the time being. Because man is not ready for such a thing. But some of the races of the man went through the non-physical detachment, which means they found the way that many races in the space found to travel, found to move, found to sustain life. And This was the pattern even in Africa. So it's not that all the human race went the way you see it, to carry in the cars and the rest. There are races that elevated like the rest of through their isolation and the approach and understanding of the creation, or one understood and the rest followed. They've gone the path of maturing to understand the interaction and motion of life in the space without what we see as a rocket. You've been to the exhibition center in Linz, you've seen it. On the ceiling we have 6 huge, like the end of the rocket engines going up, and they're sticking out. Actually looks like the end of one of the shuttle when they take off and all the fire comes out. And I use it as a joke. That's the old technology. The technology is taken off and it's going away. And what you've seen with the new technology underneath of it. And this is what is. Not all men went through the same process of understanding. But in South America, we see the even drawings of UFOs in the caves of in France. We see talking or drawing things from thousands of centuries ago. Some were enlightened, some they found a way to survive to whatever reason, and mankind has not always been what you see today.
Mr. Keshe, why do we want to keep some of the knowledge from the man? What's the reason for it?
Man is not ready. Man is not ready.
Thank you.
There was a question in the YouTube about restriction of information as well, in terms of Ezra asks a question for the respected and beloved brother Keshe. Why are world governments being shady about the Antarctic? No one is allowed to go there, and only deep Illuminatis.
I don't know about that. Antarctic is a huge natural resource. And their fight is not going there. It's not going there to claim it, then they have to get it back. It's a very. We had some officials with us yesterday in the Linz exhibition center, and I explained something very simple. If you look at the material enhancement unit, when we show it to the Americans, as we don't need the centrifuge, we can centrifuge anything we like now, 100% plutonium, uranium, whatever. That's the dilemma of the American. But now sit in the shoe of the Chinese in the negotiation. That machine is the end to control of the edge of science technology development, because Chinese over 20, 30 years, especially past 30 years, have bought and secured most of the rare earth material resources, which are keeping the West hanging on it. Now Americans get to understand, and we give them the key. The machine is there. I'm sure they paid a lot of visit to it while we were locked down in, what do you call it, design center. The Austrian government must have given access to the Americans and the rest to do whatever they like to see it. That gives the freedom of anything they like. They don't. The Chinese will lose their control on rare earth material with that machine. And how do we balance this off? And then, do we need to produce any more materials and call them rare earth? Because you can produce whatever you like, even the space materials. Man never had his hands on it in different properties. It's a game that Keshe Foundation is sitting on the center, and we see both. Depends who wants what they want and what purpose it'll serve. I hope I answered you in a very indirect way, but very clear way. The knowledge now has become a new strand. Many nations in what they did not want to do and what they want to do, and now they don't have the freedom, and now they have a totality of they can do what they like. The stronghold on car industry to even chip manufacturing, if I'm sure most of you know, or all of you know, is through all these rare earth materials and other conditions behind it, which now is controlling the European economy. All the top cars you hear, Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Rolls-Royce, all the car manufacturers in Europe have a problem of the shortage of chip. They encourage them to go into chip technology, advanced technology, electronics. Now they cannot get chips. Most of the factories in Europe are on a part-time run, slow run. And this is said to affect the economy of the Europe deliberately. The whole structure controlling rare earth or rare materials now has given a power game, which is damaging the European car industry beyond imagination. If you order a Mercedes now, 2023, and depends if they can have the chips to do it, is the delivery time. And this touches the economy of the nations like Germany, which major part of its income is motor industry. There's a shortage of chips for military hardware, the same. And it's in a way a stranglehold on many nations. I said very recently, if those of you who've been in some of the meetings, we used to have the gun policy and war policy to control and bring nations down like the Second World War and the rest. Now we have this new, what I call energy plasma control, which is actually eating into the central bank of every nation in the world. And that's why, if you understood it, we took the love of God from the Rothschild family for the suffering they brought to many people, to greed of the money. And wealth has to be used to bring joy, not to bring suffering. And you will understand very soon how, in what I call single war by one single family on the whole of humanity, they thought they won, but they didn't know that they were standing and getting judged, and they have lost the case. This kind of wealth and knowledge should have been used to elevate the soul of man and what about the education of man. And when used the wrong way, control brings a lot, and we take the control not to exist. Any other question?
Okay, no more questions from the attendees here. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A. Are there plans for a university in Canada at
No.
the site where the enhancement units are going to be placed?
Nope. No. No. We setting these things up, it takes us about 5 years. It's not so easy tomorrow. And as I said to the Chinese and to the Iranians and to our side, which is here in Austria, one of the first groups we bring in is all the professors and doctors and God knows specialists who are around Keshe Foundation to come and work from the Keshe Foundation centers. The two reasons for this is because we have a lot of professors and top educated in universities who would like to do tests for the products or with the things of the Keshe Foundation in the universities to give it credibility. We set up the institute that the credibility comes to the institute with the people who want to do it. And this is very easy for us to bring 300-400 professors, scientists, and doctors and put them in one room and say, okay, you wanted to do it for your university, this is your university, do it. And the funds are here. And this is what we're planning to do. And it's not so easy. I know there'll be a lot of discussions for it, but we are ready for it. We are prepared. But it's not so easy. And especially organizing everything for it will be much harder in the time to come. But I'm sure our, what we call knowledge seekers, will bring an end to this when more and more education centers can be built up.
Okay, a couple more questions in the YouTube one from Richard Eagle. Can the population of the Earth be conceptualized as a great wave that has reached the shore and is now receding, returning to source, next to flow to all shores with our love?
Translation.
Well, I'm not sure how to translate that. That's his impression of what is going on the planet, I guess. So we just let that stand as it is, I guess. We have a question here about someone that has a device, an implant, a titanium implant at the hip, and wondering if that, if they can use the body enhancement units if they have a hip implant. You've talked about this before, I believe, actually several times.
Yes, we advise not to, but we have had, we had a case in China that we tested with a titanium plate on the back of the head due to an accident or whatever it was. And we don't see, if it's done in a specific way, we don't see interference. But the biggest problem is with the previous works we did, because we used to make localized system, that part of the body used to come into operation. We advise always the ones, especially with the joints, with the hip joints and things, not to use, because if the bones start growing or moving, the hip will get damaged, or with the knee, which is with titanium. But essentially, we can isolate it in a specific way. In some cases, yes, it can be used, but primarily we advise not.
Okay, thank you. Ezra says thank you for the answer his question, and he wonders one thing: was Thoth a messenger of the universe? Thoth, like one of the gods of Egypt.
Yeah, what about it?
Was he a messenger of the universe?
What did he bring with us? Most of the structure is localized. Any other
Question in the chat. I know you have to go soon here, Mr. Keshe. From Luana. What is Mitra? If you can answer, I will be grateful.
We lost you.
She says.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Says, what is Mitra? If you can answer, I will be grateful.
Mitra is the essence of the love of the Creator. In Old Testament, name has been changed to Eve. Had no physicality, but it's the essence of emotion of giving, loving, and receiving the same. But in a dimension that is a physical dimension. If you call the Creator the soul, Mitra is the soul of physicality. And the creation is his physical dimension.
Danila in the YouTube would like to know if you can advise about whether the MagRav power unit is applicable in houses with aluminum circuits.
It's applicable anywhere. Keshe Foundation Iran will soon put up a new style of MagRavs. This is what we call, this is in production, and it's very different than the other MagRavs you had. And this is after what we call, you can use it in any shape or form, or any material. If you understand the work of the MagRav, and the true work of the MagRav, if you put a MagRav next to a tree, the tree will light up. And the light is from the interaction of the fields of the MagRav with what we call aura of the tree, the fields which come from the tree, nothing else. As you know, the sap is dynamic within the plant, and like the blood circulation of the man, that'll be safe. If you get your work of your MagRavs very correct, and you made the MagRav not just by the way we see it today, when you put a MagRav and you walk over it or become near to it, you will see the light from it. And these kind of systems is actually in the patent. Go in the patent, you can do it. And if you're taking the step where you only need the light for the vision. You don't need the light for what is the object unless you want to see it or is under line of vision. When you go into houses now, they're very proud. We have underfloor heating, or we have a special heating, blah, blah. I'm sure I just don't have the time to do it. You will see new heating systems that water in a plant pot in the winter will keep at 4 degrees. You walk into the room, which is frozen, everything. Your body still feels good and no cold. And this process of the new heating system doesn't need that much energy. Anything which is in motion will create its heat absorption and the dimension which needs to. We can leave the fish tank in the middle of the ice buckets and the fish will still live if we can provide the right, what we call magnet system. The heat warms itself and the water keeps that water floating that the fish can survive. Because it's dynamic. With the floating of the fish, the water interacts and responds. Any other question?
One thing I'd like to show is your publication of an article in a journal.
Oh, the one in the Greece.
Yes, it happens
I've
to be
seen
a Greek tourism journal, but it's interesting. It's that they, you can see this is the cover of the journal here. It's apparently it's quite a popular tourism journal in Greece, probably the main one, I think. And on page 60 here, we'll see there's a lovely article showing the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship unit. And it's like, I think it's actually a 3-page article. And it has actually been translated into English as well. I'll just briefly show that here. And so the title of the article was Space Plasma Nanotechnology is Already Here. This enhancement space unit was introduced to the European public in a glorious ceremony that took place at the Keshe Foundation Space Research Center in Linz, Austria. And there's 3 pages to the article with the pictures of the original article. So there's an English translation that's available. People post that in the social media places so people can read it. It's a very nice article, quite positive. So really good to see, Mr. Keshe.
Oh, they let us be published. This is one of the first times since 2013-12.
Oh, okay.
It's unusual to see it. There's a ban on Keshe Foundation to be any newspaper or magazine or any TV or radio. There's a very tight ban in Europe, especially. It's done by the request of the demented King of Belgium. And as he supplies life to them, the oldest, we used to be published frequent basis around the world till 2012-13. When what happened, we received the invitation and the rest. we look at the positive things which comes from the technology, and we are growing so fast in so many ways that the past become irrelevant, because where we are now is because of how we survived it and how we went through it is essentially more important. And in the coming time, we have to understand the process of the evolution of the technology and the science, and with it understand what new things is to come, what new things can we provide, and what new things can we create to bring prosperity to mankind. And publications and these things help to bring more attention to the technology. We thank those who were behind this and published it. Any other question? Shall we call it a day? I think today's teaching was very nice for those who understood what is about to come, and nice for those who already been enlightened and get the confirmation. If you don't have any more questions, we are in the process of opening or setting up the opening of the Austrian Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute as an institute. And it's not going to be easy. When we are ready, for those who would like to participate, we don't want teachers in the institute. We want researchers. The institute has to become a center for research, and in the next few weeks, we appoint a panel of knowledge seekers with open-mindedness that what researchers they see or they would like to be seen to be done, and the institute will provide the facilities and the finances for it. And this is how it will be done. We are not we open a research institute, and not an institute to come and sit in classes. Even though there will be some classes because it's part of the structure, but we'll be more on research and the topic of the research, and all of it will be decided by the knowledge seekers. The other question.
Maybe one more question, Mr. Keshe. Salamia had asked, consists the role for the enhancement units for the peace talks on 28th of November? Is there a position for the units?
We will let you know. We will let you know. We will let you know as it comes, because there are a number of things at the moment very delicate with the Keshe Foundation. One primarily is the peace talks. We are in the background. We advise what needs to be and what we see, and it depends on the government officials how they apply it. And then the other thing is what we call the situation with the market. We are a majority shareholder, or we are a controlling shareholder, and that is to be done, that the knowledge can be opened up in what we call American continent. And the third is the establishment of the one city, one center, which we have a started allocation of 1,000 centers around the world, which primarily is how we see it, and that it needs to spread the knowledge. There are a number of people who approach the Keshe Foundation. Can we still buy enhancement unit? Yes, you can still join us in centers, or you come up with the finance of machinery, we build the centers. But essentially, we are taking a direction of um, owning their knowledge, developing the knowledge, manufacturing the knowledge, selling the knowledge, and at the same time now to be at the end user of the knowledge too, which means we produce in our factory, we add new knowledge to it, and we deliver it to our own centers at the end for the use by public. It's a beautiful position to be in. We don't need to wait. We waited 2 years for knowledge seekers and others to see what enhancement is. Now we are organizing that. We can open on about so many centers as a total enhancement centers around the world. And so in a way, for me, it's not the first time I've done this. This experience I had from my business past, to do everything from the choice of the many retailers now do everything to the manufacturing end, but scientifically we are in that position now to do. And we announce, we go to Universal Council, we advise which cities, they give us a priority of cities they consider to be, and we try partially through that and partially through political, economical situations we see to build the centers in the cities around the world. And this is part of our work, hopefully we'll succeed. But we have facilitated for about 1,000 centers around the world. But if you want to be, because in the past few days since we opened an exhibition center, a number of people have approached us. Can we still be part of it? Yes. Individually or as collectively and the rest of it. Any other question?
Well, I think we should let you go here, Mr. Keshe, but we
Thank you very
could
much.
keep going quite easily. There's a couple more questions. We can
Answer a couple
have
of
them.
more questions and then we go.
Okay. Salamia has a hand up here. She has something else to ask, I guess. You want to go ahead? Salamia?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, everybody. I'd like kindly to ask you, what is this light of Magrav and this light, what we see inside the unit? This is a light of our own soul of man, or this is a light
What
of
are you talking about? Can you explain what light do you see in the Magrav?
You said before that the Magrav from Iran is different from other Magravs. It's like the light of vision. And I
think you, no. The Magravs in Iran are different because they are constructed different for application. And then the other part is the Magravs create fields, which these fields in interaction with the body of the man, if they're the right strength of the interaction, you create from the dynamic aura of the man and the fields of the Magrav light. That's not in the Magrav. In the interaction, because of the right strength that they can interact, you will see the light. There are millions of different spectrums of lights which goes across the solar system, and they interact with the Earth's gravitational magnetic field, but they never create light. It's the same. The unit fields has to be at the strength that it can interact with the field of. And these units to build are very easy. I suggest to Jalal's secret group of making Magravs, try it.
Thank you very much. So this is plasma light.
You might call it, yes, but you have to find the right strength to interact with the plasma.
Yes. So this
Thank
is
you
a
very much.
secret. Thank you very much.
It's not a secret, it's just the knowledge you have to gain.
Ah, you said secret group. Yes.
Oh, you know, no. Jalal has a secret group developing magravs in a very secret way. It was for him. Thank you. It's a secret that everybody knows.
Polychinelle secret, yes. Okay,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Shall we call it a day, Rick?
Okay, maybe one more quick question. I'll try to squeeze out of you, Mr. Keshe. From Dan in the Q&A here, who asks, how do you see the connection between the digital wallet where everyone is monitored for COVID and the mobile phone, China, about the distribution of everything you need through phones?
It's a cycle of evolution we have to see. It's something we learn. Why do they control your COVID through your wallet? Or these are the things governments try and they see how they can do. You'll find that a lot of it will pressurize and then it will drop off, or it's a new way of control of monetary system or whatever. But it's where to come. This is nothing to do with COVID. It's something which was said 10, 20 years ago. You don't work, you have no money, then you are a slave, or that's it, you're terminated. Communists used to, in Russian time, if you were position that it was a burden on the society, they eliminated you. It was well known in communist time. And so now we see, what do you call it? We see different ways of control. It's strange enough, a lot of people who are dying in the past recent weeks that are all over 65. This is the time when there is no paying in, and now it's time to pay out, and we spend the money years ago. Now, if you're not there, we don't need to pay you, if you understand exactly what I'm talking about. And it seems the process has started in a very big way around the world. Any other question, or shall we call it a day, because we have to move?
Yeah, I know you have to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll just say there's a comment from Zero to Hero. Dear Mr. Keshe, I'd like to thank you so much for your reply today. I also managed to take away seasonal herpes in the nose with the Cup of Life 1 easily and fast. Thank you so much. So just a comment there.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe. Thank
you. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you so much for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here. This has been the 407th Knowledge Seekers workshop on Thursday, November 18th, 2021. We have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace coming up on, just let me see the date. That'll be Tuesday, November 23rd at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. And thank you everybody for attending today, and we'll see you next time around. I'll play a couple of the videos from the universal units to go out on here. Bye for now.
the Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.